I want to just make a quick comment about yesterday's elections in Israel. Now, I'm an American, I'm not an Israeli. That's the first thing I want to say. What happens in Israel has nothing to do with me being a Jew. Other than, my fellow, Achim B'deya, as we would say, my brothers in mindset. To just say that someone born Jewish is therefore my brother is racist. Judaism always said that heretics lose their Jewish status. And it's only recently that people have been trying to twist this idea that, the Talmud says that, if someone was born, without any knowledge that they were Jewish, we call it tinuk shenishbo, then they're not responsible for their sins. But these, it's different than someone who knows that they're Jewish, maybe is ignorant about Judaism, but knows that there is such a thing as Orthodox Judaism and makes a decision that it's not for them. I mean, because you can make all kinds of arguments. You can make the argument also that, because so much of what we have in Orthodox Judaism today, is exaggerated and so forth for many historical reasons and holy reasons, but it's not necessarily what every Jew has to do. There certainly is what to say that the leniencies that someone like Rabbi Yitzchak Abadi teaches in Kashrus, there's what to say. Yeah, those are okay. It's not what I'm going to personally follow because I'm a Hasidic Jew. But as far as the basic universal requirements of Judaism, it's there's what to argue about, Chol Yisrael. There's what to say that it's justified to be strict about Pas Yisrael, even though it's not necessary. Chol Yisrael, I argue a little differently, but again, is it absolutely necessary? I mean, obviously, most of the modern Orthodox world in America today is lenient about Chol Yisrael, and they have what to stand on. And but Rabbi Abadi takes it further than the OU. Rabbi Abadi, you can look at his website and see what his ideas are, and the thing is that he's right. When you get down to the basics, he's right. I mean, part of the issues is that you're somewhat on thin ice. You gotta know what's actually going on, and that's but essentially he's right. The way his approach is what the approach was for years and years. 60, 70 years ago in America, the Hasidic Rebbes, there was I can never pronounce this name. A very frum Hasidic Rebbe, Hungarian Rebbe, from the family of the Rechaim. I have a hard time. I don't remember it offhand even right now. But they would have cornflake kugel because in World War II, with all the rationing, that's they invented in America. They invented the cornflake kugel, and the cornflakes, Kellogg's cornflakes, knows they didn't have a hechsher, but they ate it. They made a kugel out of it, and now the ignorance that a friend of mine, he said his wife, his ex-wife, she converted. His current wife, I was on the Bezdin for his current wife's conversion, actually, this friend of mine. But his ex-wife, she was berating her ex-husband, now his uncle, as being a as being a conservative rabbi because he had Kellogg's cornflakes with a K on it, even though the truth of the matter is that the VOD of New England actually certifies. Now I think the OU took it, but at the time the VOD of New England, something they were supervising Kellogg's, and they just put a K on it, but it was kosher. It was it was a totally orthodox mainstream, meaning the OU would also say it's kosher, but just the propaganda that, well, it just has a K on it, it's not kosher. That's just ignorant. There are, you have to know, there are certain times when the K represents actual kosher supervision, and sometimes when it doesn't, but it still might be kosher actually, according to like Rabbi Abadi, something like that. But you have to be educated. There's this knee-jerk reaction. Oh, if it has a triangle K on it, you shouldn't eat it. But in Kiryas Yol, I found figs with a triangle K. And I bought them for Tu B'Shvat. So it's and the truth is, really anything with a triangle K is kosher. Again, there's certain kulas that they rely on, there's certain leniencies that they might rely on, especially when it comes to like chips and things like that, that we're told that others don't rely on. But then if you really learn, they're also relying on some kind of kulas. It's not. But you have to be educated. This is totally off subject. Anyway, but the point what I'm making is that then you can argue that someone who thinks that the Orthodox Judaism is only either what the OU says or what the Hisachtis says, whatever, and nothing else is Orthodox Judaism. That's also ignorant. Rabbi Abadi is just as Orthodox, and if and I would say someone who they're struggling to get to keep certain things and they're trying. But the big thing, though, that I always say is that we speak about orthodoxy and not orthopraxy. The main issue in Judaism really is belief, is doctrine, and practice has to be a reflection of that belief, not that just we're doing stuff to fit into the community. And I know other people might disagree with that idea, and they say, no, that the main thing is the community. And all right, we can argue. My reason for saying that is why we refer to, even though this wasn't a name that we took upon ourselves, the name that we were given, but to be called Orthodox Jews and not Orthoprax Jews, is that it's the issue is the Yud Gimel Ikra. And again, with the reform, I'm not as upset that they're driving to shul, or they have women rabbis, they give ladies aliyahs, or they read everything in English. The biggest thing, even that they want to mention the matriarchs in prayers, which is silly. Because it's supposed to, it was always considered to be inclusive. The word avos means ancestors, doesn't mean patriarchs. It's an ignorance of linguistics to insist avotenu v'imotenu the way that the Reform insists that you have to include their imotenu. You have to say patriarchs and matriarchs. It really, avot doesn't mean patriarchs, it means ancestors, because again, you want to argue about languages, but that's how linguistics works. English has a neuter tense, but the vast majority of other languages, every word is either masculine or feminine. The silliness that I heard that someone saying Latinx because they don't want to see Latino, even though Latino is inclusive of Latino and Latina, and the same thing as in Hebrew, the masculine is inclusive of the feminine. The feminine is what's exclusively feminine. And to try to reinvent language to get away from that is silly and ridiculous and ignorant. but that's beside the point. So luzz them up, let them be silly and ignorant. That doesn't bother me. But the heresy, when they take out Mechaya Mesim, they say Mechaya et HaKol, or that there's some other Mechaya et Olam, I think, because they deny the resurrection. That's a doctrinal issue, just like, I was reading in the Catholic doctrine that in America the Catholic doctrine allows today, even though they don't prefer it, but they allow what they call cremation. But they said as long as it was not for an anti-Christian reason that one wants to be cremated, namely that one is denying the bodily resurrection, but rather if one believes that God can resurrect ashes, so then God can resurrect ashes. And essentially, again, I'm not going to get into the halachos and the questions about cremation in Judaism, but excuse me. But generally, we discourage cremation because we believe in resurrection and bodily resurrection. But I'm getting totally off topic, and I wanted to talk about Netanyahu. I just want to make it clear. When it comes to Israeli politics, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday. You have two types of garbage, and you have one type of garbage a little less stinky than the other. He was so excited, Netanyahu won. Now, why? And the thing is, I'm happy that the other guy lost. Not that I'm happy that Netanyahu won. I'm happy that whatever the guy's name is, Benny Gantz, I don't even know, he lost. That's a good thing that he lost. It would have been better if they all lost and there was no Jewish state. But yesterday I saw somebody, he was upset that the Christians have their own party now in Israel. He said this is a Jewish state, but the Arabs have their own party also. Can you imagine? I told this guy, and I think this guy, if I'm not mistaken, actually is a convert. I said to him, I was like, can you imagine in America if they would say Jews have their own party? And I don't think Jews should have their own party. But the thing is, of course, in Israel, it's a different, it's a parliamentary system. So that's why, you have all these different, many parties, like we were discussing yesterday at work, well, in Israel, they have all these parties, but in America they also have a bunch of parties, but you never hear about them. I was like, it's a little bit different because, in America we do have a two-party system. As much as, when you're in America, when you vote third party, you are throwing away your vote in a certain sense. You're making a protest vote, really. In Israel, when you vote for one of these minority parties, you're voicing your particular group, when you're saying that there can't be a Christian party in Israel, you're essentially saying the Christians can't vote, and it's wrong, it's stupid, it's racist. I know Christianity is not a race. I mean that in the colloquial sense of that it's racist, and the guy answered. He said, "Well, America's a melting pot, but Israel's a Jewish state." And I was like, "Well, it's not supposed to be a Jewish state, Then he started picking on me because I used my English name on Twitter. He's like, "Who's this? Why you call yourself Rabbi Joe? What, you might as well call yourself Rabbi Christopher." He said, "I was like, if you know history, I mean, not only, my grandfather, he had a Jewish name Baruch, but they called him Al, and his father, I'm named Yitzchak after him. My Jewish name is Yitzchak, but they called him Ignatz. He was from Hungary, and the Ben Ish Chai, his Rebbe in Baghdad, the one who taught him Torah, his name was Abdullah, which is the same as Obadiah, servant of God. And no one said to him, "Oh, you can't use an Arabic name." It's stupid. It's ignorant. So it picks on me because I call myself Joe. Because I work in American society. I work in a multi-faith setting. And that's my parnasa. Just like someone else, they have a parnasa in diamonds or whatever. And the thing is, by the Satmar, they use English names in business. Yeah, you're not going to be called to the Torah like that. But and like I said, that's how it was in Hungary, that they used Hungarian names. I mean, I taught all my kids. I gave them legal English names. I taught English in the Satmar Cheder, and so there was one kid. Usually the English names were the biblical names. Moshe is Moses, and Benjamin is Benjamin, and whatever. And Yisrael is Israel, and Yaakov is Jacob, and whatever. And Avram is Abraham, and my boys, it's essentially what we have. And the girls were they had more Yiddish names, the two of them, and it was a little bit more creative there. But again, I don't know, there was someone they got in little troubles, and you see the English name of Desiree, the Satmar woman, her name was Desiree, and a few years ago this mice, and one of the kids, his name was Mordechai, and his English name was Martin. That was, so sometimes in the English class, we usually call him Mordechai, but some of them would say Martin, so the and the thing is, that's how things were 2,000 years ago also. I mean, a lot of Christians believe that Saul of Tarsus, when he became a Christian, changed his name to Paul, and that's not true. I mean, I'm 99% sure, most historians agree that no, he was a Hellenized Jew to a certain extent, to the point where he had two names. When he was called to the Torah, it was Shaul, it was Saul. And even there, Saul is, the anglicized version of Shaul. But when he was among the Greeks, he was Paul. And that's just history. But anyway, I see, two different reactions to the Israeli election. And, a lot of people this has nothing to do with me as a Jew. I'm not an Israeli. I'm a Jew. I'm an American Jew, or an English Jew, or French Jew, or whatever you are. And that's certainly what we're hearing out of the guys like me. The Balei Tshuva who came to Satmar, who came to anti-Zionism, who are on Twitter and whatever. It's mostly not the Hamish Satmar. I don't know who these people are for the most part, but it's mostly not the Hamish Satmar there. But the thing is, it's true. As a Jew, it has nothing to do with me, Netanyahu, all this stuff, and it upsets me, as I've said before, as much as I love President Trump, but that he should say such a thing as your country, your prime minister, when he's speaking to American Jews. No, America's my country. I don't have a prime minister. I have a president, and you're my president, Mr. Trump. But and the thing was, Obama was my president. As much as I disliked it, and as much as I disliked that fact that he was the president, nothing personal against him as a human being, but his policies were damaging to this country. And President Trump's policies are fixing this country, are fixing the mess and the crazy thing was how the Democrats twisting everything. They were blaming, Obama kept saying, well, I inherited from Bush this and that. And now the Democrats are saying that Donald Trump inherited from Obama all the success. No, he fixed all the mess that Obama made, Anyway, so so back to Netanyahu. Can we be happy though? Do we have to be an extremist in the Torah cart and say we shouldn't be happy that Netanyahu won, or we shouldn't care? And the answer is, my feeling about it is, if it's good for America, it's good for me. And the fact that America has an ally in that region, as much as I'm upset that it calls itself a Jewish state, and that's what I'm upset when Netanyahu says something like he represents all Jews when he doesn't. And that I agree with Rabbi Shapiro and so forth. I think Rabbi Shapiro also agrees on this other side, but it's he's not a Baal Tshuva, he's not who I mean, but he grew up in Samarov's house, but he came from a more American literature type of approach, even though he comes, obviously he's from Pinchas Koritzer, he's Ben from Pinchas Koritzer, but he's Samer Ebbetson's nephew, old Samer Ebbetson, and but I gotta get around this guy. I gotta pass him because I don't want to be late for work. But anyway, because he said, Rabbi Shapiro, he said that if you're, he didn't have a problem when President Trump said, whatever he felt about Israel as American. It's just when it comes to Israel issues, when it comes to Jewish issues, that's the issue. Don't associate us with Jews. But I just heard on the radio that a lot of people are saying, why is the stock market doing good today? It's because Netanyahu won, and if Gantz would have won, probably the stock market wouldn't be doing so good today. So that's a good thing. With Daphne Shaman, you don't have to be embarrassed to say that Baruch Hashem, Gantz lost. It's not so much saying, it's not necessarily saying Baruch Hashem, Netanyahu won. He's the lesser of two evils. And that's how we should approach it. That Netanyahu is the lesser of two evils, and so we're not happy as much that he won, as much as maybe we're happy that the bigger of two evils lost. They're both horrible. They're both evil. And I use that in the Jewish sense of ra, which just means bad. It doesn't mean like satanic necessarily, although they really are both satanic. Because if you study the history of the state of Israel, it comes from the Sabbatean and Frankist movements, which were satanic cults. And I mean satanic not in the sense that they worship Satan, because that's ridiculous and silly, but meaning that they went against the grain of what normative Judaism teaches and normative just Western civilization teaches, and they were opponents of... I'm just going to go around this guy. I don't want to be late for work. thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment. See you all later. I wanted to make a 5-minute video and finish davening, and instead I made a 25-minute video. All right. Well, God bless. We'll see you later.